Now, I recently got my LFM license on ACC. Now, if you don't know what LFM is, it's low fuel motorsport, and essentially it's kind of a ranking system similar to the way iRacing has, and it's been something for me that has been very intriguing for quite a while. Finally got around to doing the license, and today we have our first race on the channel. It was not the easiest thing in the world to get the license. It is meant to be within 107 or 105% of the current record at that track. You have to do 7 laps at a certain track, and it's really professionally run, and there's so many races, and there's a whole ranking system, you have ratings and everything. It's just so interesting, and for someone who's competitive, it really was something I wanted to get into. So today's video is just basically it's just my first race, and boy oh boy was it a special one. By no means do I class myself as a good ACC player. I wouldn't even say average. I'd say I'm quite below average. I'd say a good bit below average, really, to be honest. By no means am I thinking I'm amazing at this game, but at the time of this race I had about 40, just shy of 40 hours on the game, and I must say I do enjoy this a lot. It gets quite a bit of hate. People don't really like the physics that much. For me, I've always enjoyed it. I've always thought the fact that it's a real realistic sim, because it's nearly identical to what the real life cars handle. Like it's always one that I've really had interest in. So we have done our fastest lap there. You just saw the end of it, and we're in P3. Fastest lap of qualifying. Fastest I went by quite a margin, and yeah, somehow we've qualified P3 for my first LFM race. Now this, of course, is the rookie series. We have to complete, I think, 10 of these before we can even progress up to the Iron, and then so on and so forth. But I expect to be down in P15, P16 with the back markers. I did not expect this. I was about 2/10 off P2, and he was about 2 seconds off P1, so in my head P1 was probably out of the picture. I kind of felt right that I maybe overperformed and some people underperformed in the qualifying session, and that's how we got here, as we just take off the grid. At this point I had never qualified this high in any ACC race. I've just never been this far up the grid, and it's a sunny evening here at Silverstone. Look how low that sun is. It's going to be a massive point to this race, is that low sun as the temperatures drop and go. So I'm still really new to this game and learning all the pit stops, the tyre management, the tyre pressures, just setting it up. But going into this race I was just excited, nervous, and just hopeful that I'd make it through turn 1, because turn 1 is so fast. A lot of people throw the car in, hopeful that they can kind of carry the run through turn 1 and get a good run up to the Maggots-Beckett complex. So you can see tyres slightly under where you'd want them to be at the end of a lap, but again, I'm not the best at getting temperatures into the tyre on a warm-up lap. Thankfully the brakes look okay, and at this point I'm just thinking to myself, I still can't believe that is P1 directly in front of me in the Ferrari. So I felt like in the race I probably will go backwards, but if I could hold on somewhat, I was in for a bit of a treat though. And here we are, off we go with a decent launch. Have a quick look to my outside mirror, and I just flow the car through turn 1, and instantly you can see I pull a nice gap to basically the cars behind. Now of course the top left corner says in P16 out of 17, that is clearly glitched. As you can see, we're in P3. Now the Ferrari in front in P1 was another level, just absolutely out of my league, and he was doing things I just could not understand. How he's getting the car straight away through Maggots-Beckett so cleanly. There's a Porsche in front of me. You'll see in a minute, he's probably a bit quicker than me, but it was ragged, so I kind of felt that maybe he was going to put himself off and that would be it. But here he goes. You go through the fast part of the track and down to Vale we come. The sun is absolutely blinding me, even here in my editing software. At the time I was thinking this is going to play a massive part in this race, because it was I think 5-time multiplier in terms of time, and as the Porsche goes completely off, I completely forgot he did that. Didn't even drop throttle. That would be straight away a warning, I'd imagine, for him. But I just knew that the sun would eventually go down, the track temperature would drop, and the track would get colder, and then representing that in the terms of the tyre wear and the tyre pressures would change. So far, opening half a lap, and we've stayed pretty much on the back of the gearbox of the Porsche GT3 in front, so I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. The fact I didn't go backwards off the line, I felt like I could have had an issue where if I got a little bit nervous off the line, I could have got beaten up. But that McLaren behind me, you see in my rear view mirror, is quite a bit quicker than me, and he does go for it here, and you can see I just straighten the steering wheel. You can just see the car dart out a bit. I think to myself, there's no point kind of defending overly aggressive against this McLaren when he clearly has the speed. We do jump forward about a minute or two later in the lap, and you can see the way the car is set up. I've really good feeling on the braking. I can really stop the car late, probably a bit better than most cars around me. You can see again though, I've got to keep mentioning the sun, even just because now on the screen in the editing software, and it will be massively toned down on my screen now. It's just some of the actual lens flare is ridiculously realistic, I suppose would be the way to say it. There's a Mercedes just in behind me in P5. Now we fast forward, basically when the two boys kind of got away from me, I did make a couple of mistakes, and basically my pace did just have to show that I just didn't have the kind of whereabouts to go with the Porsche and the McLaren. So kind of already was thinking, yeah, the podium's probably gone now. I'm definitely not getting anywhere near first in the Ferrari. Porsche in second is the liability, but at the moment his pace is a lot quicker than me. And that McLaren obviously didn't get a good qualifying, and he shouldn't have been behind me, because you can see what he's done to me in the ones really of probably 4 laps. He's pulled a sizable gap. But at the moment we just get our timing screen up, and we have 2 seconds back to the Mercedes in P5, 2.5 seconds up to the McLaren in P3. Now this is a pit stop race, which means you have to pit, as well as this one was a refuel race, so I had to manage this a bit more like a probably a kind of Formula 1 race, where it's not just consistency at the end. We had to do a few calculations beforehand. The sun is getting ridiculously low. It's almost in behind the grandstands there on the Hamilton straight when we're coming down into Vale, but for now it's just in my eye line, and especially in some corners this is really hard to find your braking marker, because it just it's right in your eye line. It's so hard to pick braking markers. Thankfully out the back of the track here, as we go through some of the slower parts of the track, it's kind of being blocked off by grandstands. But I saw when I registered for the race that it was 8 o'clock, and I thought, yeah, it's going to be pretty much like it will be at the end of the race, where it'll be kind of dusky and dark. But just look at that. You see now coming into the next corner here, Brooklands, it's just so hard to spot your braking marker. And again, I'm watching back with kind of hands on my hips here and looking at this, and it looks so easy. When you're racing at the time, you're trying to spot your braking markers, trying to make sure you're in the right gear, trying to do so many things, and it's absolutely crazy when you have the sun like that, and you've just so many things going on screen. So you're trying to make sure your pace is up to speed, you're managing the gap to P3, P5, and it's just so many things going on screen. And I'm just really happy overall how I drove in this race. It was just way above my expectations. Now we have jumped forward another few minutes. We are about 4 seconds behind the McLaren, and now we have started to pull a nice gap over the Mercedes. So it does look that we are probably somehow the 4th fastest car on track. This M4 that I'm in is just specified. Actually, I'm in the BMW M4, the Rossi livery. That is just a nice car, front engined, nice balance. Probably not the quickest thing in a straight line. I feel like that's probably where it loses. It's probably a jack of all trades, master of none. We jump now to 28 minutes left to go, and I think this in my head is the quickest lap I do, judging by my position on track. We are 4.6 seconds behind the Porsche, who's now in P2, or same P2 and 3 are mixed up on the timing screens, but I believe Porsche is in P3 now. So I am absolutely giving it socks, because you can see 4 laps until I run out of fuel. So I'm thinking to myself, I need to be pitting now, and we're already after taking 1.3 out of what is the Porsche apparently in front of me. So this lap, half a second up by the time we get to the hangar straight, is crazy. We're on for a low 2:03. Remember, my qualifying time to put me P3 on the grid was a 2:05, so we're under our qualifying time here after nearly a full run already. You can see coming out of the fast right-handed there, we got a slap of oversteer. The sun is getting ever so low, and it's getting right in your eye line now if it wasn't already, and it's just starting to peek through the grandstands. It was one of those races where I was actually thinking that this would be amazing if I was in VR. Currently we're on schedule to do a 2-minute dead. My goal for the race was to go below 2 minutes if I could. That was kind of the goal for the session. I had done a few laps beforehand, and I was doing like 2:03, so once I got the car dialed in, I felt quite good. And again, in these heavy braking zones and trail braking sections, I felt really strong. Now you can see the gap back to the Mercedes up to 6 seconds, so we kind of have him comfortably. Only thing was, I've yet to do, at the time of racing, haven't ever done a pit stop in a competitive race, so I was kind of unsure. I've watched kind of a tutorial how to do it, but I still hadn't done it myself, so I was a bit nervous, and I was afraid that I might ruin a good race just because I was lacking experience. We come through Brooklands, it's down to 2.6, so we've taken 2 seconds out of what is now the McLaren again in P3. So two lads in front, the Porsche and McLaren, are battling. I'm setting personal best lap times and I'm taking a lot of time out of them, but at this point in time I'm thinking they're battling, maybe they're going to hold each other up. Should I pit? So we do a 2 minute 0.3, so a third of a 10 should I say, of going sub 2 minutes at Silverstone. I believe the lap record on here is like a 1 minute 55, 56 roughly, so about 4 seconds off the fastest laps around here at a 2 minute lap time. So for me that's respectable with kind of 35-40 hours on the game. We are here now after doing a nice stint, and we're going to jump into the pit. And at this point now I didn't know what I was going to do. I was kind of just hopeful. You can see I'm a bit kind of hesitant. I don't know what I do. I go really quick in there, not too far away from the wall, slow it right down. I know I had to be in first gear, and I was just hoping now at this point that I wouldn't kind of throw away the big gap I had to the Mercedes in P5, and that I wouldn't really lose all kind of hope to the front too. But my thinking was that my pace in front was better than the cars in front when they were battling. So I was thinking to myself, if I can get into the pits, get out on a fresh tyre and go again, see, just a bit clunky. Now thankfully I did stop in the right position. You'll see me get lift up here in a split second. It was everything pretty much at this point in the race had gone to plan for me, and I just fast forward the pit stop and we do get out. Now again I need to probably have the manual pit exit and pit limiter and all that kind of going on, because at the moment it's on automatic and it's quite slow. I just kind of need to get everything dialed up. There's just so many bells and whistles this game that pit limiters and all that, it's just nice to have them on automatic. You don't need to kind of worry about it. But we've dropped now to P12. We're probably one of the earlier pit stops, so at this point of the race now it's just an unknown for me. I don't know where I'm at really. I've adjusted tyre pressures before I came in, so hopefully to be within the window. And we fast forward to the end of this lap, but we are back up to P11, so we're probably just going for this slight undercut. There's cars in front. Now this guy in front here was getting blue flags until I was literally nearly alongside him, which was a bit disheartening, because he kind of rolls off, then he just turns in a slight bit because of the bobble. It's just, when you're probably not as experienced as you need to be around other cars, he just gave me the heebie-jeebies really, that he was just going to turn across me or do something silly. But the car in front of me, I believe, is a McLaren. I'm correct, in P8. He is actually ahead of me on track. Now he has to pit, but we still have to catch him. So at this point I'm thinking, finally we might actually get some racing, because so far in this race I've been kind of pedaling as hard as I can to try and keep it up with the cars around me, but there's actually not been much wheel-to-wheel action. I've been pretty much out of all the battles, so we were catching this guy hand over fist. I think in the half a lap there I pretty much take all the gap out of him. Now again, I have a lot to learn in terms of battling and getting the car position right to overtake. There's a lot to turning pace. You can see now that lens flare in the image there is beautiful, the way it goes, the red tint and stuff like that, and it's just going behind the grandstands. ACC is not known for being a graphics heavy game, but for my PC it's just absolutely beautiful. And again, just the light rays there as they came through the grandstand, it was absolutely stunning. I've probably mentioned the sun and the sun going down so many times, but we have got the run here on the McLaren. But again, just don't have the racecraft and the kind of time in the car to make the move, so we couldn't back out thinking he might go deep. He hits a nice early exit, and then we get a car exiting the pit lane, so we have the run, we've hot tyres, we're hoping that he backs out of it, and we're kind of in a bit of a dead zone. It's actually the Porsche, would you believe, that was ahead of me on track, so we managed to gain that much back on him. I didn't realise it at the time, just realising it now pretty much, that Porsche was the guy that was ahead of me, because we'll see here in a second, coming up now into, I believe, it's not Stowe, I can't remember this car's name, brain's gone dead, but we do have a look. We go up the inside, we go really tight to the apex, we actually touch the curb, which puts me into a slight spin, which wasn't ideal. Thankfully the McLaren though does prevent the Porsche going through immediately, which just gives me enough time to kind of get my head down. He just kind of goes too wide and he just blocks him off. So it was quite aggressive from them. So I believe that is also the McLaren behind the Porsche. It looks like they're both pitted together, and I've jumped them somehow, so they must have been really battling hard and costing each other time, because I've gained probably 3.5 seconds in the pit lane, which for someone who was, in in my head really slow in the pit lane. It's pretty cool. So we come around now, we've gone from P6 up into P5, and I believe we're going to gain another position here in a second. Yes, we do, up to P4. So we're back to where we were. Now again, with this being my first LFM race and everything going on, I was just focused on being clean, consistent and fast as possible without going over the limit. So at this point I hadn't realised that the Porsche and the McLaren that were in front of me in my first stint were actually behind me. So at this point I'm thinking they probably haven't pitted, and then I started to look at the timer screen. I was thinking, so P2 has a pit stop still to take, and that was the Mercedes that I was 6 seconds ahead. So he's in the pit lane now and he's going to lose a lot of time. The McLaren ahead of me, he is just about to come in, I believe. So that's 2 positions. So I was like, that's going to put me in P2. So I was like, where's the other 2? And I was confused because no one's retired. I was thinking, am I in P6? And when I get them to pit, they'll go into P4. Was there a glitch or something going on? I was really confused because just the fact that I didn't expect myself to have that sort of pace to really get myself ahead of them. You can kind of see they're nearly running wide because I'm probably doing all the maths in my head and I'm just getting kind of flustered really. But I must say my pace has been pretty consistent. Low 2-minute ones and high 2 minutes, which is nearly kind of probably less than 1% off what I did in qualifying. So kind of maybe not stunning pace for your average ACC driver. For me, I was really happy with my consistency. The pace will come as I just get more track time and car time really. But you can now see we're up into P2, and I was just so confused at the fact that we were ahead of the Porsche, ahead of the McLaren. You can see me cycling through my menus trying to figure it out, and we actually end up missing the apex of this corner that I do not remember. Now you might notice, probably not this part of the track, but you'll see here now is a second when we get onto the Wellington straight. The sun is much gone down now, so my tire pressure is currently a tad high in the left. You can see the sun is almost gone. The track surface is definitely going down, and what a shot that is. Sun there just in behind the grandstand. So it's after getting a lot darker, the temperature will go down rapidly. So we still have 14 minutes left, and it is the McLaren up into P3 now. This McLaren, we already saw him at the start of the race. He was comfortably quicker than me. So at this point in the race, pretty happy just to think to myself, keep it in your 2-minute ones, keep yourself in clean air mainly, just stay away from everything that you can and just have the clean last 10 minutes of this race. And when he does catch you, you'll just make yourself as wide as a Dublin bus, so you'll just give yourself the potential really, because at this point I was thinking, if I get a podium with this I will be buzzing. And at this point, just over 13 minutes left, I'm thinking realistically, like, his pace was quick enough and he will get on the back of me. I'd imagine he probably won't be able to overtake me that easily, because I felt like the one place on this track that I was actually as strong, if not stronger than the others around me, was the braking. Felt really strong in the braking zones, up into here, down into Vale, the back straight coming down into Brooklands. I really felt strong. You can see him there now, sitting there having a quick look in the mirror, and you can see in my digital rear view mirror at the top of the screen, he's just a little dot, a little fly in the background. So for me, I'm thinking he's going to catch me. Like, it's convincing he's quicker. We are again doing PBs, like we are just matching the kind of best pace I can do. So we're in my eyes driving as best as we can really, because I'm doing pretty much what I've done all race. And if the temperature's going down, you can just see the tyre pressure slowly coming back to a bit more normal, and we're not making mistakes. And Silverstone is a really high speed track with a couple of Mickey Mouse sessions as we get into here in a second, and it's just a nice track to race, and I've been doing pretty well. But we come into the slow section here, we seem to have zoomed in. He drops the wheel onto the grass. Now at this point in time I hadn't seen that. It wasn't until I edited back that I basically tried to figure out where he went off, because you'll see in a second here he's 1.1 behind. I'm still pushing on, still not taking any notice that he's gone anywhere. Every couple of seconds I kind of check down to see the delta and the gap. You can see there now we're on for a 2-minute 0.9 by the look for this lap, so we're still pushing enough just to be kind of negating his gap. I believe he probably could do 2 minutes a bit more consistent than I could, but coming up to the line it still says 1.1, and when we get to the line it says plus 1 lap. You see I have a quick look, not there. I was thinking to myself, where's he gone? He was there a second ago. Has he gone off? It says plus 1 lap on the thing, so that kind of means he's on the previous lap, so he hasn't crossed the line. But yeah, he had dropped so far back, I couldn't believe my luck. Again, I had no idea at the time where he had gone off. I hadn't realised he had gone off coming out of the slow corner. Just dipped a tyre onto the grass, so easily done. when you're kind of chasing someone down, it's so easy to make a mistake like that. Now we jump to the last couple of laps, and we have the reason why this series is called Low Fuel Motorsport is that we are pushing the boundaries. We have 9.5 litres of fuel left, and we've quite a bit of racing to go. We've 3 minutes, which is about a lap and a half in terms of time, but if the leader starts a lap before the time ends, we have to do it as well, so we could get dragged into hot water here. So you can see me just fiddling with the maps, and again I kind of put it back up because I saved a good bit that lap. I'm thinking, right, 1 minute 20 left, surely he's not that far in front that he'll get another lap. This should be the last lap, and I'm actually mistaken. You can see my last lap drops with 2 minutes 3.7. I just started to use higher gears, lift and coast, really just trying just take the load off the car, leave the car do the work, and just save a bit of fuel. Now it did work. We got a good bit of fuel back. We have a minute left in this race. We've just over 6 litres left. The pit window has closed. Thankfully our pit window was beautiful. Now we're not really under any immediate stress. You can see the McLaren is 6 seconds now. He has been gaining on me, but the fact that I'm kind of leaving off and trying to lift and coast stuff, I have been kind of shipping time to him, but I had such an advantage. And you just see now as we come down the Vale for what in my head was the last time. Just look how different it is. Look how dark it is in overcast. Not overcast as such, but kind of just so dark, and it was so different to the start of the race when the sun was beating down you and the track was really hot. You can see we're having a few more slides. The tyres pressure's probably not ideal for this part of the race, but I knew that with the time calculations it probably would go too late. So next, if I had to pit again, probably add maybe 2 or 3 clicks to the tyre pressures all around. And again, now we have in my head 3, 2, 1, and it was done. I was thinking surely he's going to be right near the line now, but unfortunately for me he's already at turn 1. So basically that means I have another lap to go. We're using 3.1 litres a lap and we have 4.5. so at this point I'm kind of cycling through it again just to kind of see where he is, because at this point I hadn't seen on a map that he was past turn 1 by the time the countdown down, so he was already after starting a new lap. So that means I got dragged into it. So you'll see here in a second we do drop the mapping again. You can see, look, snap of overs there because I'm just trying to play with my heads up display and things like that. It's just the focus goes for a split second and you could be done. And I remember thinking, imagine that crashing out the last corner would have ruined this race for me. And at this point now I was sweating. I was so tired from physically just drained from this race, because with it being my first proper race in this, I was so focused, I was so intense. I was just trying to make sure every apex was as clean as possible, every lap was as tidy as it could be. And you can see now we have just about 3/4 of a lap to go. We're thankfully okay on fuel-ish, but it was a long race this one. But I was so happy, and I was just thinking this last lap here now we just need to push on. P2, the Ferrari, who has already taken victory, was a long way up the road, but he's someone who probably has a lot more time on this game than me, and just has a bit more knowledge of the car handling, physics and stuff like that. So for me, I was chuffed. I was absolutely chuffed. And I'll enter a clip here in a second after a finish of basically me saying how like wrecked I was after it worn out. You can just hear it in my voice that I was just done. You can see now the leader has finished as we come down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. Fireworks in the background over at turn 1, and we are so happy at this point in time. The gap for McLaren is about 6.5 seconds, so it looks like he started making mistakes as well also. And even with me saving fuel and kind of just taking my foot off the pedal, you can see we're just drifting into the 2-minute 2s now again. With so many laps done, I think we can be let off the hook, just dropping the pace at the end. You see there again though, even through the fast left-hander onto the back straight, a small little slide. I didn't even remember this at time. At this point I was probably just driving on autopilot and just kind of doing everything. And even now as you come into Brooklyn's low fuel, we're under 2 litres, so it was calculated somewhat to perfection. I reckon if I kept it in power map 1 the whole time, it would have run out, but that is not an issue now as we cross the line with about 1.3, 1.2 litres of fuel. And our first race and our first podium. Now it does say P1, but obviously our leader has already disconnected. We will get the results on screen in a second, but man, I was absolutely worn out, but I was so happy. We thrown out spinning at the end for celebration. You'll see here now in a second the results, and yeah, I was just absolutely thrilled really to get the P2, and just the fact that I'd never done one of these races before. It was just completely out of the blue for me, and just the fact that I know it was 61 seconds, we were a minute behind, like, but it was outrageous that I was expecting, like, basically that I would get into the race and somewhat be behind P15, or maybe one or two cars would be kind of at my level, but the fact that I wasn't, and I was so much further up the grid, and that we qualified so well, we were actually the fourth quickest car on track, and maybe the third by the end of it, because the Porsche ends up nowhere. I don't even know where he finished, because I can't even see his name now on the standings. But absolutely incredible race. I enjoyed it so much, and we're going to turn the clip of me basically sounding dead now. Lads, I am absolutely spent after that. I am sweating. I am completely out of it at the moment. I'm wrecked from that. That was such a fun race though. I look forward to editing it back. At this point, I've been stuck into the middle of the video saying how tired I was. And yeah, listen to what I'm saying. I am damn tired after that, but hope you have enjoyed, because that was a hell of a fun race, and I look forward to more LFM really, because that was a bit special. That was the most fun I've had in a sim or racing game in a long time. So long may it live. So yeah, pretty worn out there I was after that one. I was pretty knackered, and straight into bed after that for me. It was like 11:30 at night, and I was just absolutely worn out, but it was such an enjoyable race. Now, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more of the ACC LFM on the channel, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to see more. We recently hit 3,000 subs on the channel, which is a massive milestone for me. Thank you all from the viewers who've tuned in over the years, subscribed, liked, and commented on all my videos and everything else that goes on. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you want to see more ACC. I'm absolutely in love with this game lately, and there's a few more Fanatec bits on the way for me. I will say no more about that, but a few of my long-time viewers and stream viewers will know I mentioned a few bits at the end of a stream recently, but I'll say no more on that until it arrives, because I have a few plans for things. But I'm going to leave the video there. Hope you have enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, all that good stuff. Thank you all. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Slán go full.